This video is sponsored by Rocket Money. More about them later. What's up, freedom fighters? I am Evasive, and today I'm going to be throwing a brick through the queer community's window. So, Stonewall. If you're gay, you probably already know the story. It was an important event in gay history that happened in New York City in 1969. And though we will never know who threw the first brick, we know that Stonewall was the start of a movement that got the LGBTQ community to where it is today. So in the early 2010s, with America well on its way to legalizing gay marriage everywhere, the country seemed like it was finally ready for a big-budget Hollywood movie about Stonewall. And the question was, what iconic gay director had the strength and talent to make such a monumental queer film? What about Cheryl Dunye, director of the 90s cult classic film The Watermelon Woman? Or how about Gus Van Sant, the Oscar-nominated director of the Harvey Milk film? Or maybe Dee Rees, the woman who made one of the greatest lesbian films of all time in 2011? Oh, what's that? We're just gonna let the guy who directed Independence Day in 2012 do it? Oh no. Yeah, so this movie flopped hard. The reviews were horrible. Almost nobody saw it. And these days, if you mention this movie to any gay person, they will probably have no idea what you're talking about. But it's been almost a decade since this movie came out. The dust has settled, and Roland has returned to making $100 million war movies, and movies where the moon is falling out of the sky. And now that his horribly reviewed Stonewall movie has been forgotten, what better time to lure queer people to my house with some Joe's Pizza, which is a real pizza place near Stonewall, you can look that up, and record their reactions while they watch this unintentional disaster flick. Is it really as bad as people said it was? Did it deserve to bomb this hard? That's what we're going to find out. But first, let's figure out, why the fuck they let Roland Emmerich, of all people, make this movie. First, I'm going to give a Stonewall crash course. If you already know the story, feel free to skip to this timestamp. This is Greenwich Village. It's a New York City neighborhood known to have some of the most ridiculous rent prices in the world. But before it was gentrified beyond recognition, the village was known as a hub for artists and LGBTQ people. The Stonewall Inn was a bar and restaurant that opened in 1930 on Christopher Street in Greenwich Village. Stonewall operated as a regular bar and restaurant until 1964, when the interior was destroyed in a kitchen fire. Then in 1966, the Genovese crime family bought it out and turned it into a gay bar. At the time, all gay bars in New York City were run by the mafia because being gay was illegal and only the mafia had enough money to bribe the police. Stonewall's customers were mostly white, Black, and Hispanic people between the ages of 18 and 35. And after it opened, Stonewall quickly became the most popular gay bar in the city because it was the only one where slow dancing was allowed and one of only two where dressing in drag was allowed. Police raids still happened, but the mafia was usually tipped off beforehand. At 1:20 a.m. on Saturday, June 28, 1969, however, the cops raided Stonewall without tipping off the mafia and attempted to arrest the owners and everyone who looked like they were in drag. Those who weren't arrested were kicked out onto the streets. Normally, when raids happened, those who were set free would just go home, but this night was different. Instead of leaving, those who were kicked out formed a crowd and started taunting the cops who had been harassing them for years. Hundreds of people in the area joined in, and soon the NYPD was outnumbered. When the cops started beating people, the crowd chanted gay power and fought back as the cops barricaded themselves inside Stonewall. Then someone set the building on fire, and riot police arrived to try and push the crowd back. The community continued fighting the police through the night, but by dawn, the riot was over and Stonewall was destroyed. Despite that, people kept returning the next few days to keep the riot going and spread the message that LGBTQ people had had enough. In the years that followed, Stonewall became a rallying cry for gay liberation, and by 1971, gay rights groups had been formed in every major American city, as well as Canada, Australia, and Western Europe. As for Stonewall itself, it shut down shortly after the riot and was occupied by other businesses until it reopened as a gay bar and performance venue in the 90s. And it's still there to this day. Now let's talk about the movie. So, believe it or not, Roland Emmerich was not hired by a major studio to make this film. As a gay man with a lot of pull in Hollywood, he actually took it upon himself to make the movie as a passion project in between White House Down and Independence Day 2. With his Stonewall idea greenlit, Emmerich hired a playwright who had never written a movie before to write the script and cast a mixture of known and unknown actors to play the characters. This included the controversial decision to cast straight cisgender actor Otoje Abbott to play famous trans activist Marsha P. Johnson. Now, to be fair, Emmerich did say that he originally wanted a trans woman to play Marsha P. Johnson, but he just thought that Abbott gave the best audition, which, like, okay, Sure, Roland.
Those other nasty bitches don't know one day Jesus is gonna punish them for their sins and fuck them up good.
With a script written and a $17 million budget secured, Emmerich had a film set built in Montreal and started filming the movie in the summer of 2014. He chose to film in Montreal instead of New York City because apparently he couldn't make the budget work to film in New York, which probably had more to do with Emmerich not knowing how to make a movie for less than $100 million than it did affordability. Then on August 4th, 2015, about a month after gay marriage was legalized across America, the much anticipated trailer for the Stonewall movie dropped, and the reaction was... Yeah, the community was not happy about this, mostly because the movie looked like it was taking the story of a large, diverse uprising and centering it around one skinny white guy. The trailer left a bad taste in everyone's mouth, and a petition to boycott the movie got over 20,000 signatures in just 4 days. In response to the controversy, Emmerich said, "You have to understand one thing. I didn't make this movie only for gay people. I made it also for straight people. I kind of found out in the testing process that actually for straight people, Danny is a very easy in. Danny's very straight acting. He gets mistreated because of that. Straight audiences can feel for him." Basically, he was trying to play both sides, and in trying to make a movie that appealed to both the gay community and middle American straight white people, he ended up making a movie that appealed to absolutely nobody. Critics tore it to shreds, saying it was clunky, bland, offensive, historically inaccurate, and the production design made 1960s Christopher Street look like Sesame Street. By the time the movie ended its theater run, it had only made $292,000 off its $17 million budget. To demonstrate just how pathetic that is, there was actually another Stonewall movie released in 1996. This one had a much lower budget than Roland Emmerich's version and only played in 10 theaters, and yet somehow this version made almost $400,000 more. Even after that though, Emmerich kept doubling down and defending himself, saying, "My movie was exactly what they said it wasn't. It was politically correct. It had black and transgender people in there. We just got killed by one voice on the internet who saw the trailer and said, 'This is whitewashing Stonewall.' Stonewall was a white event, let's be honest, but nobody wanted to hear that anymore." So that's the story of Roland Emmerich's Stonewall movie, and now it's time to force some queer people to watch it for content. But before we begin, this video is sponsored by Rocket Money. Girls and gays, if you're anything like me, you probably signed up for a few obscure streaming services before just to watch one movie. Like earlier this year, I signed up for Magnolia Select's free trial on Amazon Prime Video so I could watch everyone's favorite Swedish black comedy, A Pigeon Sat on a Branch Reflecting on Existence. I thought I'd cancel it after I finished the movie, but of course, I forgot. And when I finally noticed a few months later, I'd already spent $20 on a movie I thought I'd watched for free. And this wasn't even the first time this had happened either. But now it'll never happen again, thanks to Rocket Money. Rocket Money is the personal finance app that helps you cancel subscriptions, lower bills, and manage your money better. Signing up is quick and easy, and once you do, Rocket Money will securely identify recurring charges and let you cancel them directly from the app. Besides tracking subscriptions, Rocket Money can also lower your utility bills by negotiating with service providers for you. From bill negotiations alone, Rocket Money has already saved its members over $50 million. Plus, they have tools like credit tracking, spending graphs, and custom budget monitoring to help you get complete control over your finances. If this all sounds good to you, then head on over to rocketmoney.com/evasive or click the link in the description to try Rocket Money for free or unlock more features with premium. That's rocketmoney.com/evasive to get started for free. Thanks again to Rocket Money for sponsoring. Now let's get into the video.
Can I just put a little vodka in here then before we start? It's here.
I'm not gonna be so foolish.
Yeah, me either.
I was looking at clips of this. I was like, dang, no damn well way I'm gonna enter this shit fucking soap.
I'm watching this raw. I haven't seen even a trailer or anything.
Stonewall.
Quick note before we begin. Roland Emmerich himself said it had transgender people in there, so some of the characters are definitely supposed to be transgender, but it's hard to say who because this movie doesn't do anything to explain the terminology of the time. The best way I can explain it is by showing you this sexual orientation scale tale that was published in 1966. It's very outdated by today's standards, but it sums up how different types of trans people were viewed back then. So while explaining the plot here, I'm going to be using the word trans, but just know that trans has an asterisk. Also, you'll notice one of the queer people here is animated. I originally filmed with her on camera, but like all queer people, she's decided to become a video games and anime YouTuber, and she asked me to cover her with drawings instead. This took me hours to do, so please go watch her 30-minute long Devilman video essay, or this will all be for nothing. So anyway, the Stonewall movie opens with Stonewall.
That's gonna be me on Black Friday at Macy's.
Girl, I'm gonna be working at Macy's.
Yeah, some of us are broke.
And now we meet our hero, Danny Winters. Yes, that is actually this white guy's name. Danny Winters.
Y'all can say what you want, but the jawline is jawlining. You know what I mean?
Could not catch
Because
me.
you always talk about decolonizing, but you
Could
love
not
a white
catch me
man.
fawning over this white man.
So Danny is an 18-year-old gay boy from Indiana who has come to New York City to go to Columbia University and study astronomy in the fall. But he was outed and ran away from home before he could graduate high school. So he arrives in Greenwich Village to get some help, and the very first thing that happens is he gets hit on by an older trans woman.
Poor little thing, long way from home, starving and dragging his suitcase like a little baby chicken.
I'm not starving, sir. I just had 2 hot dogs.
You want a third?
See, because does this ever happen, or am I ugly?
You're ugly.
And you don't want to say that question.
But before this movie can perpetuate any more nasty stereotypes about trans people, the best character in the movie shows up. Not that it's much of a competition, but still.
Listen up, kid. Don't follow this one unless you want to end up tied to a chair and smothered in pancake batter or whatever that shit is.
What?
I think they meant like cum.
Why would you say pancake batter? Is that what the girls are?
Because
Is that what they used to
gay
say?
people are
though?
poetic.
They're poetic. Damn, I wish I could read.
This character is Ray, a trans Puerto Rican street kid played by gay actor Johnny Beauchamp. Ray is loosely based on Sylvia Rivera, a real-life activist who was 17 years old at the time and co-founded one of the first trans activist organizations in America in 1970. Now, it's obvious that Ray should have been the main character here, but instead she's stuck playing second fiddle to the boy from War Horse. I didn't want the queer people here to dwell on that fact, though, so at this point I busted out the Joe's Pizza.
Pizza time. Pizza time.
Yeah, no, I do one. I'm not even gonna hold you. I'll hold it.
I'll take a bite.
But you certainly didn't come to Christopher Street for the pizza.
By the way, the queer people were so distracted by the pizza I got near Christopher Street that they weren't paying attention when Danny said what his name was.
Quick, everyone guess his name. Peter.
Eric.
Robert.
Felipe.
You know, his name's Rashad.
Jaquan.
Not Jaquan.
I really hope so.
Jaquan from Indiana.
So now that we've established what his name might be, Ray introduces him to some more characters. First, there's Bob Kohler, who was a real person and plays the role of the wise gay sage in the movie. Then there's the street kids, whose names are Queen Kong, Quiet Paul, Little Lee, and Orphan Annie. They all live on the street and do sex work to survive, which was sadly very common for young queer people at the time. Anyway, Roland Emmerich wastes no time in showing them threatening to kill each other and smashing windows in broad daylight.
And you say, who made this? Ryan Murphy?
It is giving Ryan.
Cut that out. Cut that
No,
out.
that was good. Keep that.
No,
Keep
keep
it
that
in,
part in.
but
I
then
want
that
it.
part
I
in,
want
but
it
then
to hire
blur
me.
it.
After that, the street kids are hanging out on a stoop when famous trans activist and this movie's main comedic relief, Marsha P. Johnson, shows up to say her name and threaten Little Lee with a good time.
Now, Lee, you stay away from my regulars. You don't want me to have to spank you.
Maybe I do.
Bye, girls.
Bye, Barbara.
And now it's time for a flashback, except this movie doesn't do a good job at conveying that it's a flashback, which made the queer people very confused.
Wait, so they're in he was on Christopher Street, and now he's in high school?
Yeah, I guess he is.
No, he's in
high school.
Columbia.
Oh, it's Columbia.
Columbia High School.
But this is
Why
not
does
what Columbia looks
look like
like.
a fucking high school?
Okay, but this was so long ago.
But did Columbia have...
This is a high
This
school.
looks like a high school. This looks like a high school.
So, but is he in high school or Columbia? Oh, he's going to
Oh, it's
Columbia
a
in the
flashback.
fall.
Oh, it's a flashback.
In this flashback, we get our first piece of Danny lore. We learn he's from a small town in Indiana. He was on the football team. He had a secret crush on the quarterback. His dad was the coach. And his sister sister is Joey King, star of the hit Netflix original film series The Kissing Booth, but these movies are for straight people, so the queer people couldn't identify her.
That's, oh my god, no, that's what's her name? King. Jodie King.
That's Velcro.
That's Velcro.
What's that?
Not that's Velcro. I'm screaming.
After the flashback ends, we find our hero trying to sleep on a bench.
Oh my god, Rashad is sleeping on the street.
Not Rashad.
Danny can't fall asleep though, so he wanders over to the piers looking for Ray and ends up getting caught in his first police raid. And this next scene features some very bloody and horrifying police brutality, but I'm just going to skip past it because I know none of you want to see that.
Thanks, movie. You added nothing to this film, and now I'm uncomfortable.
Okay, but look at how his hair is like
Perfect.
highlighted. It's very like Justin Timberlake.
Just
It is.
You know what I mean? Like the way it's like
You just
highlighted.
witnessed a gay hate crime, and then you say it's just like just so I know.
It's because Gigi says the best in every moment.
Oh my god.
So after the NYPD finishes committing hate crimes, Roland Emmerich decides now is a great time to give us a flashback to Danny about to blow Joe the quarterback in his car.
Hey.
Oh, he's already whipping his dick out?
That's how I like it. Let's get it fast. Let's get it popping.
See, because he kind of looks like Bruno Mars.
Ain't no way you said that. That man does not
He
look
does
like Bruno
not look
Mars.
like Bruno Mars.
Bruno Mars is fucking handsome to me. That's not fucking
Honestly,
real.
I'm gonna need a fedora
They
to
look like
see.
they would be like.
Don't say that. This is just for now. We're not faggots.
He said we're not faggots with his fingers in his hair. Oh, wait. If y'all don't blow each other... Oh my god!
But before either of them get to finish, they're caught by two other guys from school.
And now they're gonna blow each other. Because it's contagious.
After that flashback, Ray finds Danny trying to sleep on the street again and takes him back to her place, which is a tiny apartment with no furniture that a bunch of queer teenagers sleep in together. And honestly, this scene right here is actually pretty good.
I got a cousin. He went to pharmacy school in California. You know, with Judy, Eliza. They live there with a lot of palm trees. I could make a nice home. I could clean, I could cook. Arroz con pollo.
See? And that's why you gotta stick with the MBs, because they take care of you.
But because Roland doesn't know how to tell a cohesive story, we get a third flashback where we find out the two boys who saw Danny being gay somehow managed to rat him out to the entire school overnight.
The way I would have ruined their lives though. Like I would have been like, yeah, and then I blew everybody.
See, where's James Charles when you need him?
At the local elementary school.
Oh, no.
Stop. I cannot be
Not
affiliated.
even conceived.
Then Danny goes to the coach's office only to find that Joe the quarterback tattled on him for sucking him off.
He
Oh,
looked like
the
that boy
coach.
from
The
Glee.
coach is his father.
Oh no!
Such a great way to attack me, like quarterback.
You got him drunk so he wouldn't even realize what was going on.
Joe did him dirty.
No, Joe, why would you say that?
Tell me you need help. It's a one-time thing, Danny.
Oh fuck. Okay.
He's gonna be true to himself. That's so stupid, though. He should have just like said he wasn't gay.
I would have capped. I'd been like, that nigga's lying.
And now he's homeless.
Danny grabs a bag and runs away, but not before sharing a tearful goodbye with his sister, who the queer people have finally identified.
Is that the girl from Ramona and Beezus?
Oh, Ramona!
I love her.
Before skipping town, though, Danny goes over to Joe the quarterback's house to confront him for being a lying gay snitch.
Why'd you lie about us?
You should go, Danny. Please, just go.
Joe, you
wants Joe to be
nasty
with
motherfucker. You
Yeah,
nasty
literally
bitch.
should just hit him.
You Bruno Mars looking bitch.
He does not look like Bruno.
Bruno Mars is fucking good looking. Stop that shit.
He's
Stop the
sexy.
Bruno Mars
He
slander.
is.
And having run out of his allotted flashback time, Roland Emmerich has the film return to 1969, where we see Ray and friends getting kicked out because they're actually squatting in a vacant apartment.
Well, that's a commentary too that only straight passing gay people were able to have jobs successfully.
That is another thing.
And that's another thing. If you're femme, you've always been scrutinized. That's why femme for femme, rise up. If you're mask for mask in the comments,
Text me.
oh no. But yeah, text me though.
And then that night, 40 minutes into the Stonewall movie, The characters finally go to Stonewall. And now that the characters are at Stonewall, the queer people can finally start bragging about their own Stonewall experiences.
Gigi and I just performed at Stonewall.
We just did a show at Stonewall.
Last week.
That's alright.
We got a standing ovation.
Honestly, me and Poppy were working on a VIP, so we didn't pay for our drinks.
Yeah,
but like,
we had a green room. By green room, at the closet. It was a broom
Damn.
closet. That's okay.
They give you the closet at Stonewall, a place.
So since this film was filmed in Canada, this means that this is a set.
yes.
And as a person who's actually been to Stonewall before, it doesn't
It's
look
not
like,
that spacious.
I don't
It's not
think
that
they've been-
spacious.
looks
They
like
really
it.
said, let's not film this movie anywhere where it took place.
Now, I realize this might sound like nitpicking, but to quote one Stonewall veteran, in real life, the bar was made to be invisible. If you passed by there, you wouldn't notice it. It looked like a closed down nothing. They didn't have those big lights on as they do in the film. The inside was mostly plywood and dark. The walls were wet in there because the air conditioning didn't work too well, and the place smelled like stale beer. Honestly though, this is the director of 10,000 BC we're talking about here. Personally, I think we should just be grateful that he didn't make Stonewall look like a TGI Fridays. Anyway, before the queer people can get any deeper into the historical inaccuracy of the production design, Hellboy shows up.
You from me, Ray?
Hellboy!
Wait, who is that?
That's the guy from Hellboy!
Girl, that's Pitbull.
It's the worldwide.
Don't do him like that.
So Hellboy is Ed Murphy. He's the mafia manager of Stonewall, and he was a real person. Speaking of real people, Marcia also shows up, says a funny line, and then leaves again.
Hello, Danny dear. What do you think of this nasty little gay place? Cute, isn't it?
Then Ray hits on Danny, but Danny rejects her because he wants to get with the deep V-neck dude staring at him from across the bar.
Hi. I'm Trevor.
That's what the project was named after. That's Miss Trevor Project.
Now Poppy doesn't know what the Trevor Project is either.
So Trevor here is a gay rights activist, and he's going to be in a love triangle with Danny and Ray for the rest of the movie. Or a love corner, I guess. I don't know, I got a C in high school geometry.
Oh, Ray is sad.
Because that's how it is to be a femme.
Before this love triangle can heat up, though, the cops raid the place.
All right, it's a raid. Let's go. Up against the wall. Get in the line, up against the walls.
This will all be over in a second. They only arrested trannies. It's a 3-article of clothing rule. They're also going to arrest the dykes because they're wearing men's clothes. This is what we're fighting against. This bullshit.
My baby's a freedom fighter.
No, I like that. I like that.
I'm so sorry, but like respectfully, they're much more finer than him. I would have been all over them instead of that motherfucker.
Ray.
I'm so sorry, respectfully.
Now, in my research, I found out Trevor was supposed to be based on real-life activist Craig Rodwell. In real life, though, Craig was a leader of the riot and proposed the first gay pride march a few months later. But in the movie, Trevor tries to hold Danny back and thinks being confrontational is bad. So basically, nothing like the real-life guy at all. Anyway, now the cops are rounding up all the trans-looking people and tossing them in a truck.
Danny! Wanna go okay. Beat that toe!
See, they really locked up the femmes, and that's why you guys should go to Puteria con Papi Rosa, because our show celebrates femme people. Littlefield, Brooklyn, New York.
Then at the cop station, the sergeant interrogates Ray for information about Hellboy, and in exchange, he promises to let her go. But she refuses to cooperate, and he just lets her go anyway. Like, that's it. It doesn't make any sense. Now cut to the next day where Danny, Lee, and Paul are playing a nice sweaty game of basketball at a spot these queer New Yorkers thought looked very familiar.
Oh, I know that spot!
Yeah, that's
okay, that might be the only spot in New York.
That's by West 4th
It's by West 4th Street.
That's West 4th Street.
Ah, yeah!
I'm so loco. I'm so West 4th Street. I'm so loco. Florida transplant, rise up.
I love the McDonald's right across the street. That was right across the street.
It was.
And after a very uncomfortable scene where Danny tries sex work for the first time, Danny returns to the apartment to find Ray's been beaten up. It's a very emotionally intense scene, and again, credit where it's due, the actor who plays Ray is really good.
What the fuck am I supposed to do, Danny? Nobody wants me. Nobody. Not even you.
No. Ray.
Oh
Ray.
my
The only
God.
character any of us liked in this movie. What the fuck?
So what? So what if I fucking get beat up every now and then? Who the fuck does it? A faggot is always gonna get beat up, Danny. Even you.
This movie should have just been called Ray.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah, actually.
We would have been here.
The next night, Trevor invites Danny to a meeting of the Madison Society, which was a real-life gay rights organization that preached non-confrontation and conforming to straight society, which after spending days with the street kids is something that doesn't sit right with Danny at all.
I'm beginning to really feel like I just want to break something, you know?
Me too.
But you're not gonna, are you? Ever.
There's been a very strong lack of women the entire movie.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
You can
it's
tell
just
that it's very from like a white gay male perspective.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
there's like no.
And the
fucking
main conflict is his terror between like the community of like the girls and then like this man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's the main like conflict.
What's interesting is that he doesn't even have it the worst. These girls are getting beat up, and it should be about them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's about him.
But he's
and he has this tragic
and
like,
how he's growing
and how
from
he's
other-
like watching all this horrible shit. I was thinking the same
Yeah.
thing. How he's watching all this horrible shit happen. He's like, oh my god,
That
But
sucks.
like
for
that
y'all.
sucks for y'all.
Yeah. Well,
Literally.
this kind of reminds me of how like white gay men like to have people of color around them so they look better.
You know what I mean?
It's
Yeah.
kind of giving like I'm growing from these people of color's
Oh my god,
pain.
just like you.
Get a piece of this pizza.
Do you want it?
No. We'll be right back.
And then after the meeting, Danny goes out to dinner with Trevor and admits he's still in love with Joe, the quarterback, which sparks a very heated debate among the queer people.
He's still hung up on Joe.
Me too.
He's in New York and he's still hung up on Joe.
I would be too.
Joe's yummy.
I would be too.
You saw his arm?
I'm so
That
sorry, but
was like
Joe
the
is not that cute.
No, it's not even
Y'all
about
three is
that.
lucky.
That.
Joe's not
It's
bad.
about like he
It's like-
disrespected him so much. It's kind of hot.
No.
Oh, I see
Okay,
that.
No. We have to
I'm
do
always
better.
into the guys that
I'm
treat me
sorry
like
that I
shit.
get horny when people treat me right.
What's your sign?
Fuck off.
Toxic.
I've done nothing wrong.
Wait, girl,
I
when's your
actually
birthday?
love it.
When's your birthday?
Huh?
I'll say mine. I'm a Taurus.
You're
too.
lying. Say it first.
May 5th.
Okay.
Wait.
You're having
Rewind.
Such a gay moment.
No, it's talking about astrology. I'm missing the gay sexy. No.
The next morning, Trevor offers to let Danny stay with him, which angers Ray and gets them arguing in the street because she feels betrayed and Danny calls her an asshole and Ray accuses him of abandoning her and Danny says he's doing nothing wrong.
Wait, I thought this movie was about Stonewall.
It's not.
Also, remember Bob, the wise gay sage from earlier? Well, after the fight, he invites Danny inside to give him some wise gay sage wisdom.
Ray started tricking in Times Square when he was 12. This isn't him being mean to you. He just loves you is all. And love isn't always pretty.
I like lost the plot. Like, where's the plot?
So
Where did
what
it
happened
go?
was that's the man he met in the very beginning, right?
Yeah.
And they just brought him here, and then he realized this is that these two they live together, and they live in a stable lifestyle because they look like men. You know what I'm saying?
And what's this movie about? Masked people can get anything they want. Some people can't. This movie's about Ray.
Oh my god. Stop complaining about your problems the entire time.
And then in a plot twist nobody saw coming because they weren't paying attention, Judy Garland from The Wizard of Oz dies.
Wait, Judy Garland just died?
What?
What?
Is she dead?
She is dead.
Who said that?
No.
Judy is dead, baby girl.
If you're wondering why this was such a big deal, it's because Judy Garland was idolized by the gay community at the time, so much so that friend of Dorothy became a common code phrase for gay men to identify each other. At this point, the movie tries to connect Judy Garland's death to the Stonewall riots, even though that had been debunked way before this movie came out. But again, this is the director of 10,000 BC we're talking about here. Personally, I think we should just be grateful that he didn't make the Stonewall rioters dress in Wizard of Oz cosplay.
There's people like you, Danny, who misunderstood Judy. You know, you misunderstand people like me, but that's okay. That's okay. Don't worry about it. Go pay your rent. Go talk to your boyfriend.
Okay, now flash forward about a week and it's the night of the riot. Danny arrives at Stonewall to find, of course, Trevor cheating on him.
That's Trevor.
Oh!
That's Trevor.
No!
Danny gets upset and runs back to Trevor's place to pack his bag and leave. And now it's time for the nastiest, most offensive scene in the movie. Content warning, this. So it's at this point in the movie that Roland Emmerich decided now would be a great time to have Hellboy kidnap Danny off the street and force him to have sex with...
I see you've been given a drink. Good.
Danny, right? A nice American name. Like Scott. Justin. Do you know the Bible, Danny? Anything from the New Testament? The book of John. You are my friends if you do what I command of you. John 15:14. And I am a good friend, Danny. I am a very good friend.
But before the scene can get any worse, Ray saves Danny by pulling the fire alarm, and together the two return to Stonewall to confront Hellboy and end his reign of terror over the gay community.
Ray's about to end his life.
How about I go to the cops?
Because that would be the dumbest fucking idea you ever had. And probably your last.
This movie's about Ray.
This movie is about Ray.
Yeah, this is about Ray.
This is about Ray.
1, 2, 3, Ray.
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 1, 2, 3, Ray.
At this point, Hellboy goes full mask-off supervillain and attacks Ray and Danny. But right when he does, the place conveniently gets raided by the police, giving Danny and Ray a chance to escape. Then Marsha P. Johnson appears again for her third comedic relief moment, and she gets handcuffed to Hellboy. This, of course, did not happen in real life because Marsha arrived at Stonewall after the riot had already begun. But, once again, this is the director of 10,000 BC we're talking about. And personally, I think we should just be grateful he didn't have Marsha P. Johnson handcuffed to a time-traveling J.K. Rowling.
Marsha.
Yeah, that's her community, bitch.
And then after a little ballroom moment, the cops drag what I believe is the only lesbian in the film outside and try to shove her into a cop car. Now in a scene that actually is historically accurate, she starts fighting back, which is the moment that finally kickstarts the Stonewall uprising.
Fucking help me!
It's finally Stonewall, what I waited for!
In the chaos, Hellboy escapes with Marsha, and the cops make no attempt to stop him because he paid them off, further angering the crowd. And then it's the moment you've all been waiting for.
No, that's not the way, Danny.
Gay power! Come on! Gay power!
Not gay power.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers ass fucking.
That's not what happened.
Don't you know that all the queers got into formation and they said, gay power! Ha! Yeah! Like, that's what happened.
White Rangers. White Rangers. I'm also White Rangers. And I'm also White Ranger.
The crowd tries to break back into Stonewall, but the cops barricade themselves inside and radio for backup. Then Silent Paul and Little Lee light the building on fire as the police in riot gear arrive. Also, Trevor watches from afar and is like, ugh, violent protest? Oh no, this will set us back years.
But you can't get your freedom without a little violence.
Because there's a difference between being gay and queer. But we're not gonna go there right now.
No,
we're not gonna go there right now, you know?
By the way, Trevor acting this way is kind of messed up when you consider that the person he's supposed to be based on was the one who actually led the gay power chant in real life. But once again, this is the director of 10,000 BC we're talking about here. And personally, I think we should just be grateful he at least left this in the movie.
We're the baddest girls. We wear the curls.
This movie's problematic, but it does have some moments.
Don't even do that.
Hey!
Come on. We are the baddest girls. We show our pubic hair.
Meanwhile, Hellboy and Marsha run into another gay bar and get the handcuffs removed by a shirtless leather twink. And then she punches Hellboy in the face.
Marsha's just that OP that Marsha just hits you once and then makes you walk away.
But is that Marsha or
that's Marsha, and the other one is Tamagotchi.
Tamagotchi?
Yeah.
That's her name.
That's her name.
Is it?
No.
Anyway, the riot ends with a gay victory pose, and now it's time to tie up the Ray and Danny romantic subplot.
Don't you understand? No. I mean, what am I supposed to understand? That I can't love you.
No! Not after all she did for him.
I'm too mad to love anyone right now.
Oh!
that's the gay versus queer that we just said. We just said
Should have
that.
stayed in Kansas.
Oh my god.
No.
Oh, that's
No.
the fucking bullshit.
On the cheek.
On the fucking cheek.
Friend zone.
No.
Get the fuck out of here.
No.
Then Roland Emmerich has Danny return home to tie up all the other subplots in the movie. And let me tell you, the queer people had some real intense opinions on this part.
Hi, Sarah. Is Joe home?
Oh, he went back for Joe?
And she's pregnant.
He still hung up on Joe.
She's pregnant with Joe, baby.
If I was in
Wait,
New
I thought
York
that was
City,
Joe's mom.
there are fucking fine ass men in New York City. I would not travel back to fucking Kansas, Indianapolis, whatever the fuck he's
Joe
from.
had a horse cock. I would travel back.
Horse cock? Get the fuck out of
Yeah,
here.
the horse donkey.
Whack ass.
cock. I would be riding that shit like.
So Danny reconciles with everyone except for his father, and then the movie flashes forward 1 year to the first gay liberation march. Danny is going to Colombia, his sister and mom are allies now, and the movie ends with a standard black and white text-on-screen historical movie epilogue. Also, Danny and Ray stayed friends, and they all lived happily ever after.
I don't give a fuck about everyone else except for one character in this entire fucking movie.
Wait, 1, 2, 3.
Ray!
So that's Roland Emmerich's Stonewall movie, and honestly, I mean, I guess it could have been worse.
This movie was fucking awful. My bad. I apologize. You had the Stonewall riots. And then you
She said
fucking
white
focus
riots.
on a fucking white guy that came in from Kansas. The Stonewall moment is fucking less than 10 fucking minutes. The most enjoyable character is a side character who gets treated like shit the entire fucking movie.
The problem with this movie is that it's the same as every gay movie that's come out.
And say that.
Which is the fact that like we always sympathize with the white character first.
I did.
And the pain of every other queer and BIPOC character is only serving to help the evolution of the white protagonist.
Yeah.
And in this case, Ray's storyline was so much more powerful and deserved so much more attention and care and tenderness.
Yeah. But also to answer the question of like why it wasn't successful, we support us. And we're not gonna be out here supporting something that is like whitewashing and doing all these things. Like I never even like watched this movie and I never would have because we saw the ads.
That's the first mistake we made.
All the girls were like, oh my god, this is fucking crazy. And you know when the girls say that's fucking crazy, I'm like, you're right, babes.
It probably is.
Let's go get Popeyes.
Like, Danny, like, he doesn't go with Ray, and he doesn't go with Trevor, and he, like, doesn't stay in Kansas. He's not, like, making a stand at all. He, like, throws the first brick, like, because the director wants him to, because, like, we're following him. But there's no, like, substance to him. There's no depth.
But I would like to say, for the girls that was in the film, you were really trying.
They were trying.
You were really like you were really trying to build up. Like the girl
We're
who
talking
played
about the
Ray,
writing.
you did a great job.
Yeah,
and
there were moments. The moment that gagged me when Ray said, "You will never like someone like me. I'm just femme, and I'm always gonna get beat up.
No, for
People
sure.
will never like me, bitch." That is the moment.
That is the moment.
That
I
was the
completely
moment.
agree.
I am Evasive. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you want to see the full recording of the queer people watching the Stonewall movie, along with all the other recordings I've done so far, please be sure to check out my Patreon, link in the description below. And finally, because I felt bad for making them watch this movie, I decided to take the queer people out for a drink at the real Stonewall.
I'm coming from far away. I have no idea why I come through here. And though I know just run away, the biting I kept
special thank you to my highest tier patrons, Alexis Angiano, Andrea Morton, Andrew Coro, Andrew C., Aurora Borealis, Azure, Brandon Crane, Bruno, Caleb Fortner, Dylan Zahner, Fuzzy Numbers, Gary V. Walters, Jane Elwood Strawberry, Lucas Probably, Neurodivergers, Pigeon Rose, and Richard Brown.